at Senator Chris Murphy, we just carried some incredibly passionate remarks that he made on the floor of the Senate about life as a child in the United States of America. The victims, 14 students who died today, were second, third, and fourth graders. This story broke as I came on the air, and I have a fourth grader, and it's hard to imagine what it's like for any of those families. And Fred Guttenberg is here. It doesn't feel fair to ask you to be part of this coverage, Fred. But when I think about what you have shared with all of us and what your gift is, and always in honor of Jamie, is to help people understand the horror of a day like today. And if Chris Murphy has his way, and he was on his knees on the Senate floor asking us to do more than nothing, that's all he asked for, that we do more than nothing this time. It is because of your courage and choice to honor your daughter by sharing the horror of this day. And so if there's anything that you can share about how you got through this and what these families are going through today, I just wanted to hear you talk.
First, Nicolle, you're going to make me cry. And to my friend, Senator Murphy, thank you. Because there are people in this country who want to do something about this. Unfortunately, they all currently live in one political party. And Senator Murphy's been fighting this fight for a long time. You're in Texas right now, where the shooting happened in Texas. The senators there, they're not like Senator Murphy. The governor there, he's not like Senator Murphy. That lieutenant governor, he's not like Senator Murphy. In fact, I'm trying hard not to curse, Nicolle. But I'm shaking. But I'd like to tell them all to go F off. Because what they did, what they do, the way they politicize guns and violence led us to this day where, and I don't know what the latest number is, I think we have 14 dead parents, loved ones, who their world is spinning, who right now have to think, how am I going to plan a funeral? Who right now have to think, what kind of casket? Who right now have to think, all I did was send them to school, and I have to plan their funeral. And I have to write a eulogy. I have to comfort those who I love, my other children, my spouse, my friends, my neighbors. I have to figure out how to go forward. I'll be honest, Nicolle, it took me a good solid 24 hours before my world stopped spinning to the point where I really kind of grasped what was happening. I am simply going to say this to the families there. You're going to go through pain. It's not right, and it shouldn't be. But I am here for you, and others will be here for you. You will be okay. You will find a path forward. But for the next bunch of days and weeks, you have to get through this horror, because people failed. I'm done. They fucking failed our kids again. Okay, I'm done. I've had it. You know, how many more times? Are we going to sit back? I'm going to listen to that governor of Texas talk about why he pushed to fight for laws in Texas that made it easier for the guns to be had by those who want to kill? How many more times? I'm sorry, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. You know, but you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up, we're going to keep fighting. Because as long as there's people like you and people like Senator Murphy, and, you know, I look on the House, they're trying to pass things. I look at a president who will sign legislation that makes it to his desk. This was predictable, but it was also preventable. Sadly, the next one that's going to happen is also predictable. if we keep doing nothing. And so I am begging, Senator Cruz, I sat with you in your office 2 years or so ago. I listened to your nonsense. I listened to your BS. I listened to you explain to me why you thought we didn't need the bare minimum of effective background checks. March into Senator Murphy's office right now, tonight, and you be the Republican who says, I've had enough. Because if you don't get your ass out of office, you don't belong there. I'm sorry.
No, Fred, what is, I mean, what never adds up is that you've got 85% of the American people who are for gun safety. No one's talking about taking anyone's guns away. And
No.
you've got, as you said, one of the two parties that won't come to the table on an 85% solution. What is Chris Murphy talking about when he's begging his colleagues to come to the table? And he said, you may not agree with everything I want to do, that's fine. What is sort of, in your view, or what do you think he's talking about when he's speaking about what is achievable if we take this moment and let the loss of 14 students and one teacher change this intractable place we're in as a country where this happens and we do nothing?
It is the ultimate question. The issue isn't the American people, because you can't get 85-90% of the American people to agree on a car color, but they agree they want to do something about gun violence.
Yeah.
And so the question is, why doesn't it happen? It's not that it can't. There is a party dedicated to making sure it doesn't. There is a lobby that profits off of the fact that this happened today, and a party that is aligned with that industry that profits. And so, listen, I hope any member of that party, I'd like to see it be the senators from Texas, since this just happened in Texas, but any member of that party, I'd love to see them walk up to Senator Murphy right now and say, I was wrong, let's do this. Because that's what it's going to take. The Democrats are on board. The Democrats are on board. Nicolle, when my daughter was killed 4+ years ago, we were talking about 300 million weapons on the streets of America. We're now talking about 400 million plus ghost guns. Okay? We didn't become safer. I listened to all the arguments of those senators, like a Senator Cruz. Slippery slope, slippery slope. Yeah, well, we've been on slippery slope. That's why we're now at 400 million weapons. Okay, so what are we going to do? Are we going to watch more kids die, or are we going to do something?
It's a point that Frank Figluzzi made almost 2 hours ago, that it's a tragedy that we can call on you, that we know you. And we know you because your daughter died at school. What is the problem that we can't have unity around protecting schools, around this last line of a civilized society, that we send our kids to school and we can agree they should be safe there?
Nicolle, after Sandy Hook, Wayne LaPierre, I think it was 4 days after Sandy Hook, went out and for the very first time uttered the lie. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. He did that right after Sandy Hook. That was his response to Sandy Hook. And people should never forget it. That was the first time that line got uttered. And amazingly, because of the money they spent to own a group of physicians, that lie evolved into sounding normal, into something they fight for. Well, you know what, Nicolle? This needs to be the school shooting where the idea of saving children should become the normal response, where the idea of making it harder to get guns and ammunition, because we already have 400 million weapons, so you know what? We need to focus on ammunition as well. This should be the shooting that gets all of them to understand they were wrong. And while they were spreading those lies and spreading that nonsense, more shootings, more dead kids. This should be the one where maybe one of them 2 of them, 3 of them. I don't need it to be all of them, because I've come to the conclusion that enough of them are evil and bad, but there are still some that aren't. They should be the ones that step up today and say, I want to be a part of fixing this.
Fred, President Joe Biden, who I know you believe is doing everything that he can without support from both parties in Congress. He will address this when he lands. Again, in the tragic club of having been there, what can he say to comfort these 15 families in Texas, 14 families of elementary school students and 1 teacher?
You know, he, I think you know, Nicolle, called me days after Jamie was killed. And the one thing he said to me, and I remember to this day, and it was right. The memories, the pictures that bring a tear to your eye now, that bring emotional responses now, the day will come where you'll look at those same things and you will smile again. And he was right. And I want him to let the families know that there is every reason to believe you will be okay, that you will smile again at the memory of your loved one, and that there are people who love you and will be there for you. I have spoken to you about it before. I'm only who I am today because of all of the amazing people who stepped in and held me up and held me together. I will be there for those families, and I know an army of people across this country who feel the way that I do. They won't go through this alone, but they also need to figure out a way to get through the next few days. And if any of them are listening to this and they would like to be able to talk to me directly, I just want them to know they can reach out to your program and you will put them in touch with me, because I will talk to any of them.
Of course. We always want to talk to you. I imagine, though, that there's something about these days that is re-traumatic for you. And so for trusting us and talking to us today, we do love you. And from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you.
Thanks, Nicolle.
Thank you so much. And we will do that to anyone listening who'd like to be in touch with Fred. Of course, we'll make that connection. Frank, if you're still with us, I just want to come back to you on this idea, this what is to me ceaseless optimism that Fred has, that this can be the last one, that it wasn't Parkland where his daughter lost her life, but let this be the last one, where we don't do anything to make all Americans safer, grocers in Buffalo, kids in an elementary school.